one night I was sitting in G.B. Roberts's house, and the songs were going round, this, that, and the next thing. And there were two young lads there. They were strangers to us, and they'd heard about her. A lot of people used to go, they come from America and all that, to tape her. People would come out from all over to see her. And these two laddies, anyway, were sitting there. And she says, now, I haven't met you. What's your name? Oh, I can't remember their first names, but their surname was Gray. That was their family name. Gray, I suppose. And she says, and what's your father do? Oh, he's a minister. Oh, says she, is that so? She says, no, I know a story about a minister Gray. Oh, is that so? And so she started telling the story, and this is how I heard it. Concerns a minister up in a very poor parish long, long ago, up in the Highlands. Very poor place. The people didn't have much at all. But of course, if anybody's going to have anything at all in a poor place, it's going to be the minister. He had a flock of sheep. Not too many sheep, just a few, but it was a few more than anybody else had, and he was inordinate proud of them sheep. Oh, he loved his sheep. When he got up in the morning, before he'd take breakfast, he went out to see that they had food. And they were okay after coming through the night. Before he took dinner in the middle of the day, he went to feed his sheep and see they were doing fine. Before he took supper at night, the same thing. Always the sheep came first. Awful proud he was of his sheep. Well, one time it had been a very bad harvest, and people didn't have much to eat, and it was getting on winter time towards Yule, towards Christmas. And he went out one morning. Lord be here, one of his sheep was gone. Well, he wasn't too pleased with that, but he thought, well, she'll come home when she's hungry. Dinner time in the middle of the day, he went out, the sheepy was still gone. At night, she was still away. Well, the next morning when she still wasn't there, he realised that she'd been stolen, and he started jumping up and down, cursing a blue streak. Using language a minister shouldn't know, never mind use, but he knew the language and he knew how to use it too, let me tell you. But for all he cursed and bemoaned his fate, no sheep ever come back. But he never gave up hoping, you see. So any spare time he had, he'd be wandering around the fields, looking in the ditches, behind hedges, all that sort of stuff to see if he could find his beastie. And sure enough, one day, very close to Christmas, he was out, and didn't he hear somebody singing? He could tell it was a young laddie singing by the voice, And what he heard was, since my father stole a minister's sheep, there's plenty puddings and plenty pies. Since my father stole a minister's sheep, there'll be a Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas indeed, says the minister. And he round the back of this bit of a ditch and saw a little laddie sitting there. The lad had been singing a song, you see. Oh, a poor ragged laddie. He'd no shoes nor stockings on his feet, and just his clothes were in rags on him. But he run up to me, he grabbed me, he said, you little devil, he says, I heard that song. What song, minister? The laddie said. He says, if you heard a song you weren't meant to, he says, fine do I know I wasn't meant to hear that song, but nevertheless I heard it, he says, and I'm going to hear it again. Oh, the laddie says, what do you mean? He says, you're going to sing that song in church next Sunday in front of all the congregation, and we'll see what happens then. Oh, no, minister, I can't do that. I just wouldn't do it. He says, you will. He says, no, I won't. He says, what do you mean you won't? He says, minister, he says, how could I go into the church, he says, in me with neither shoes nor stockings on my feet? Don't let that hinder you, laddie, he said. Don't let that hinder you. I'll get you shoes and stockings, he says. Now, he says, will that do? Oh, well, minister, he says, look at me, he says, my trousers are in rags, he said, I'm scarcely decent. They're just falling off me, they're in such rags. Laddie, he says, don't let that hold you back. He says, you'll have a fine new suit of clothes. Never mind your shoes and your stockings. Oh, minister, he says, you make it very hard for me to say no. But he says, there's just the one thing now that holds me back. What holds you back, laddie? He says, here's me sitting in church, and the collection plate coming round, and me not a penny in my pocket to put into the collection plate. Pennies, he says. The minister, he says, you'll have shillings, he says, you'll have silver shillings in your pocket to put in the collection plate. If that's what's holding you back, very good, the laddie said, you've convinced me, I can't say no. Well, he got his new suit, and his shoes and stockings, and people realised there was something up. So come Sunday, the church was packed full. Packed full. And the minister, he gave them a hard sermon about hellfire and damnation and all that sort of stuff. That's the kind of sermons the ministers gave you in those days. But at the end he says, "Now people," he said, "I've got something special for you here this morning." And they saw something was up. And the laddie sitting down there, they'd never been in church before, and they're thinking, what's going on here? He says, "Now," he says, "all of you know that there was a heinous crime committed against me." He says, "One of my sheep was stolen." They all knew that. He says, "Well," he says, "see this laddie down here?" They all knew the laddie. They'd never seen him dressed like that before. "This laddie here has a song to sing you. Every word of this song is gospel truth," he said. "And when you hear it, you can act accordingly. Boys, stand up." Now the laddie stood up. He says, "Minister, are you sure?" He says, "No, I've kept my bargain with you." He says, "You keep your bargain with me." "Very good," the laddie says. And here's the song he sang in church. "As I went by the fields one day, 'twas there that I spied Minister Gray. Wee Molly on the ground he lay, he rolled her over and over," and that was the end of that minister in that parish. That's how I heard it. I'm going to sing another song that I learned from Jeannie Robertson, and she just called it the murder ballad. Some people call it the butcher's boy. My parents gave me good learning they gave to me, and they sent me to a butcher's shop, a butcher's boy to be. 'Twas there I met with sweet Mary Ann, with a dark and roving eye, and I engaged to marry with her in the month of sweet July. This fair maid being beguiled by him, upon him she did cry, "Oh, Willie, dear, you'll marry me, or I'll be forced to die." They walk it up and they walk it down, they walk it all around, till he took a knife from off his side and he stabbed her to the bone. She fell upon her bended knees, and on him she did cry, "Oh, Willie dear, don't murder me, for I'm too young to die." He grabbed her out by the arm, and he pulled her on the ground, and he pushed her in deep water, where he knew that she'd be drowned. He went home to his mother's house, 'twixt the hours of 12 and 1, and little did his mother think what her darling son had done. "What is that blood?" she asked of him. "It stains your hands and clothes." The only answer he would give, "I was bleeding at the nose." He asked her for a handkerchief to tie around his head, and he asked her for a candlestick to light him up to bed. No sleep nor rest could this young man get, no sleep, no rest, he cried, for he thought he spied the flames o' hell approaching his bedside. This murder it was soon found out, and the gallows was his doom, for the murdering o' sweet Mary Ann, a flower in full bloom. The Butcher's Boy. I'm going to sing you two harvest songs now. The first one's the Lothian Hearst, the Lothian Harvest. The Lothians is down in the south where Edinburgh is. And our men, of course in the south, the harvest come on earlier than our place. And the men used to take ship and go down there and cut with a scythe. The men cut with a scythe, the women cut with a sickle. And the men would stay there and cut and then move further north, and by the time they got home to cut their own stuff, it was ready, you see. That's how they did it in the old days. And this is about some men from Aberdeen, from Dee side. Aberdeen is on the River Dee, and they went down there to cut the harvest in the Lothians. On August 12th, fae Aberdeen, we sailed on the Prince and landed safe on Stafford's fields, the harvest to commence. For 6 long weeks we tarried there, fae tune to tune we went. Say we'll we took with the Lothian lads, and we'll were they content. Our foreman, Wally Matheson, fae sweet beside he come. Our gaffer come fae that same side, and Logan was his name. We followed Logan at the point, say we'll he laid it down, and bravely he did lead the squad, our money's the Thistly tune. And I mysel, a Lowland lad, quite sick nae better cheer than a Deeside maid, and a Hieland bed, and a nicht as long's a year. Say I'll take a glass into my hand, and we shall wish it weel, and maybe we'll get back again when fortune turns the wheel. Say here stay Wally Matheson and Logan and all his jolly crew, and maybe we'll get back again when whistling at the Blue. The Lothian Hearst. This is a song for shearing with the sickle. It's just to the rhythm. This is all work I've done myself, so I know what I'm talking about when I sing these songs. I've got many that stuck barley and oats with the sickle. I prefer the sickle because the scythe scatters it badly. And stony ground, a sickle gets beat up bad. And so you've seen that used a sickle. Oh, bonny lassie, brecht and fair, bonny lassie, bright and fair. Will you be mine forevermore? Will you be mine forevermore? You'll understand it. Bonny lassie, brecht and fair, will ye be mine forevermore, and gin ye'll be mine. saying, I'll be thine and will gang nae meer to the shearing. And gen the weather be our hot, I'll shed my waistcoat and my coat, and shear we ye among the lot o' the jolly band o' shearers. Bonny lassie, brecht and fear will ye be mine forevermore, and gin ye'll be mine, saying I'll be thine and will gang nae meer to the shearing. And gin the thistles be our strong, and pierce your lily milk white hand, when my sharp hook I'll ding them down as we gae ben wi the shearers. Bonny lassie, brecht and fear will ye be mine forevermore, and gin ye'll be mine, saying I'll be thine and will gang nae meer to the shearing. Bonny lassie, will ye gang and shear wi me the whole day long? 'Tis love will guide us as we gang to join yon band o' shearers. Bonny lassie, brecht and fear will ye be mine forevermore, and gin ye'll be mine, saying I'll be thine and will gang nae meer to the shearing. There you go. I'll sing you some dance songs. It's when people wanted to dance and there wasn't any fiddlers or pipers around. Or in the times when the ministers used to take people's fiddles and break them so that people couldn't dance, because they thought if people didn't dance, if the young folk didn't dance together, then they wouldn't get into worse trouble, you know. Of course, it didn't work. And people put words to the old fiddle tunes and pipe tunes. Post a bale, it's called. Post meaning tune, and bale is your mouth. Mouth music. And I'll try just a couple of tunes for you. This is Shatish first. Christina Campbell is the name of the first one. Christina Campbell. It's called after that girl that the tune's made for. Saying she's got blue eyes and neat little feet, and she's got plenty sheep up on the hill. Hai chien and rat Christina Campbell, hai chien and rat Christina Campbell, hai chien and rat Christina Campbell, Sean found a hard mare Christina Campbell, hey boy, hey Benel Christina Campbell, hey boy, hey Benel Christina Campbell, hey boy, hey Benel Christina Campbell, Christina Christina Campbell, hai chien and rat Christina Campbell, hai chien and rat Christina Campbell, hai Chin and rat Christina Campbell, Sean found a harm at Christina Campbell, Sullen got him scussing cool the Christina Campbell, Sullen got him scussing cool the Christina Campbell, Sullen got him scussing cool the Christina Campbell, Cur a heck and now the Christina Campbell, I chin and rat Christina Campbell, I chin and rat Christina Campbell, I chin and rat Christina Campbell, Sean found a harm at Christina Campbell, and it nicker kiss a volunteer, net de kirkarauch is seven do ya staurig, net de kirkarauch is seven do ya seven do, net de kirkarauch is seven do ya staurig, Monday Uraman, Mundu Yahuraman, Monday Huraman, Setokostala Gausik, Monday Uraman, Mundu Yahuraman, Monday Uraman, Setokostala Gausik, Emmerut the Celsius of Volunda Yavolunda, Emmerut the Celsius of Volunda Yastaurig, Emmerut the Celsius of Volunda Yavolunda, Emmerut the Celsius of Volunda Yastaur, Mulunda Yahuraman, Mundu Yahuraman, Mundu Uraman, Setokostala Gausik, Monday Uraman, Mundu Yahuraman, Monday Uraman, Setokostala Gausik. Kala kan es mörg se vunnende ja vunnende, Kala kan es mörg se vunnende ja staure, Kala kan es mörg se vunnende ja vunnende, Kala kan es mörg se vunnende ja staure, Mundu Uraman, Mundu Yahuraman, Mundu Uraman, se tokostala gausik, Mundu Uraman, Mundu Yahuraman, Mundu Uraman, se tokostala gausik, Kulogona snöschen se vunnende ja vunnende, en Kulogona snöschen se vunnende ja staure, Kulogona snöschen se vunnende ja vunnende, Kulogona snöschen se vunnende ja staure, Mundu Uraman, Mundu Yahuraman, Mundu Uraman, se tokostala gausik, Mundu Uraman, Mundu Yahuraman, Mundu Yahuraman, se tokostala gausik, Shane Huredal, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Huredalaro, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Huredalaro, he can feel it a knock, having a knocking post, he can feel it a knock, he can feel it, he can feel it a knock, having a knocking post, he can feel it a knock, he can feel it, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredalaro, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredalaro, hick me no little now, hitch me now, little now, hick me no little now, quieter and Tyler, hick me no little now, hitch me now, little now, hick me no little now, quieter and Tyler, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredalaro, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredal, Shane Yo Huredalaro, Conningower Association, Chili Big Padoculum, Conningower Association, Chili Big Bjornum, Conningower Association, Chili Big Padoculum, Conningower Association, Chili Big Bjornum, Chilies and Chili Big Padoculum, Chilies and Chili Big Bjornum, Chilies and Chili Big Padoculum, Conningower Association, Chili Big Bjornum, the fine you more and good and Chili Big Padoculum, fine you more and good and Chili Big Bjornum, fine you more and good and Chili Big Padoculum, the fine you more and good and Chili Big Bjornum, Chilies and Chili Big Padoculum, Chilies and Chili Big Bjornum, Chilies and Chili Big Padoculum, Conningower Association, Chili Big Bjornum, Macavina clock down like a yard and Macavina clock down like a yard, Macavina clock down like a yard, Gajina go with a church upon you, Macavina clock down like a yard, Macavina clock down like a yard, Macavina clock down like a yard, Gajina go with a church upon you, Statavari Banner, Cousin Gaminor and Statavari Banner, Cousin Gaminor and Statavari Banner, Cousin Gaminor and Canut me some Lloyd on yon, Statavari Banner, Cousin Gaminor and Statavari Banner, Cousin Gaminor and Statavari Banner, Cousin Gaminor and Canut me some Lloyd on yon. Here you go. There's another weaving story I thought I could tell. Long ago, when people believed in the fairy folk, well, some believed when I was young, they didn't think about fairy folk like you see in the top of a Christmas tree, you know, the fairies with a wand and all that sort of stuff. It wasn't like that at all. They were people who looked very much like ordinary folk, some of them a bit smaller, always dressed very, very old-fashioned. And of course they lived underground in big mounds. Well, long, long ago in Scotland, people did live like that. That's how they built their dwellings. And later people coming along, invading the place, would have seen them, I suppose, and thought they were something magical, coming out of the ground, you know, and disappearing into the ground again. And that, I think, is the basis for a lot of the fairy stories. And the fairy hillocks, they were called dooms. A doon means actually a place that was fortified, so people could go there, a hill with a wall round about it, so people could go there when they were attacked. And this, in the story, this doon is called Doon Vullick. I think it's in Argyll, that's how I heard anyway, in the west coast of Scotland. And it concerns a man and woman living in a very lonely place near this Doon Vullick. There were very few people lived there. And they got on well together, and she was a good worker. She liked to go out and help him out in the fields and do that sort of work, but she hated working inside. Baking, she loved to bake, that was okay. She was a good cook. But when it come to carding or spinning or weaving or any of that sort of work, she just detested it. She wasn't good at it and she didn't like it. And in those days, if you didn't get your work done one season, it wasn't going to wait for you. The next season was upon you. And it just so happened, one winter she'd been very slow getting any of this stuff started. In fact, she hadn't started at all. And her husband was saying to her, now come on, he says, you better get a move on. He says, it'll be springtime soon. And he said, you haven't got the wool from last year worked up. He says, what's going to happen when the shearing time comes and you've got another mess of wool to work up? Well, she says, it's okay you saying that. But she says, but who's to help me here in such a lonely place? I've only got the two hands, just the one pair of hands. She says, and you complain, but yet you don't help me. Well, he says, I've got plenty to do myself. He says, now come on, he says, that's your share. He says, you better get going. And he was saying this one day to her in the middle of the day at dinner time. She just made him his dinner and he could come in to eat it. And as he usually did, he ate his food and he lay down to have a sleep. So she was sitting there looking into the fire, and looking at him, thinking, look at him, lying there having a sleep. And got the effrontery to complain about me, not doing all this work, she said. I'd do it, she said, if I had somebody to help me. But who's round about here to help board me? Not a soul. And she was getting really aggravated. So she got up and she was looking out the door and she said, she said, if I had neighbours, she said, but not a neighbour in sight. She said, I'd be good to them. She said, at least I'd feed them, And she was looking up to this dune, the fairy hill up there. And fairy folk they could be very mischievous. So you had to watch them. And they called them the good people, you see, just to keep on the right side. Oh, she says, even the good people up there in Dundvulloch, she said, if they'd come down to help me, I'd be good to them. At least I'd make them oat cakes. That I could do for them. But she says, I may as well whistle to the wind. And she just slammed the door and went and sat down, looking into the fire again. And her man lying there snoring. Well, she wasn't long sitting there at all when she heard a noise. And the noise was people, a bunch of people, making a clamour, coming close to the house. She thought, my gosh, who's that coming here? Before she could get up to see, there's a thump, thump, thump at the door. Come on, good wife, open up and let us in. Open up and let us in. She thought, who's that? She didn't recognise who it was. She opens the door and shows him sitting here. Here's a mess of these fairy folk. Big ones, little ones, and one of them, he seemed to be in charge. And he come forward, he said, come on now, he says, I hear you're needing some help and we've come to help you. Oh, she says, I don't know anything about that. He says, we heard you calling for help and saying at least you could feed us, and we don't have any oatmeal, but we do love oat cakes. He says, you make us some oat cakes and we'll come in and help you. Well, she says, all right, come away in. And they came. And they says, now come on, get the girdle, the griddle, you'd call it in America. Get the girdle on the fire and start your baking. And we'll start doing this work for you. Well, very good, says she. So she rolled up her sleeves and she started rolling out the oat cakes and cooking them in the fire. And she's looking around watching them, but of course they weren't going to do the work. They had magic to do that for them. So they went to the cards and they said, cards, card. And away the cards started, card and wool into rolls, throwing them to the side, and there's a pile of rolls growing, Nice, lovely carded wool. So they took that to the spinning wheel and they laid it down and they said, wheel, spin. Away the wheel went spinning like crazy. Loads of yarn coming, no time at all. And she's rolling out oat cakes and baking them, and as fast as she was cooking them, they're eating them, just like post and lighters. And our post folks, they're swallowing them down. But she was amazed. Then when the wheel had a load of work done, they took all this nice spun yarn and took it to the loom and said, loom, weave. And away the loom went clattering like you wouldn't believe, and the cloth just rolling up there. She's amazed at this, but also she was getting a bit worried, because she had only the one barrel of oatmeal in the barrel. The meal's going down, going down, going down. She says, now what happens when we hit bottom here? How am I going to get them stopped? How am I going to get them out of the house here? Well, she put on a spurt and she got a few bannocks, as we call them, a few oat cakes made, and she went to the door, opened up the door to get a breath of fresh air. And one of her very, very few neighbours, an old man, was coming by. He says, woman, he says, you looked kind of distracted. What's wrong with you? Oh, she says, what's wrong with me? Look what's wrong with me. And she pointed over her shoulder, and he looked, and he says, in the name of fortune, he says, how did you get in that bunch in there? Why did you let them in? Oh, she says, I was needing help. She says, and I asked the wrong folks. And she says, and here they are. And she says, I think they're here to stay. How can I get rid of them? He says, oh, he says, you're in a bad shape here. He says, but wait now, he says, I'm thinking of something. He says, every one of them has a treasure, you know, up there on the fairy hill. Every one of them has a treasure that they really care for. If you was to run in there shouting, ha Dunvulik na hena, ha Dunvulik na hena, that's Gaelic for Dunvulik is in flames. He says, sure enough, that would get them out. They'd go and save their treasures. He says, but if they're out, he says, that's not going to say that they won't try to get in again. Oh, she says, what do you think I should do? Well, he says, here's my plan. Get them out first. Slam the door and put the bar, the heavy bar on the door to hold it fast. He says, but you know, they'll come down again trying to get in that door. Oh, she says, I wouldn't open the door for them. No, he says, but there's wood. He says, you'd better take the cards and turn them upside down, because they might call on the cards to come and open the door. You better take the wheel and turn it all upside down and mess it up so that it can't go and help. And the same with the loom. Get it all twisted up. Very good, says she. And he says, now, one last thing, he says, you've got an iron pot. Certainly she has. Certainly I've got the iron pot. Fill it up with water, says he, because iron and water are great specifics against any sort of witchcraft. Very good, says she, I'll try it. He says, right, he says, and I'm away out of here before the fun begins. And he skedaddled. Away he went. Well, she turns round and she took a deep breath and went running into the house, shouting, ha Dunvulik na hena, Dunvulik is in flames. And right away, they dropped everything, out the door. One of them crying, oh, the babe that I left in the cradle. Another one shouting, oh, the gold comb and the case that I got from the tombs of Egypt. And another one shouting, oh, the pearls that I got from the seas of Araby. All the stuff that they were thinking about. Away they went. Right you are, she slams the door and on goes the bar. Now she thought, what was it I had to do? Okay, the cards upside down. The wheel twisted around. She twisted all the gears in the loom, so it was just in knots. And she thought, now there's one more thing, right, the pot. She filled it up, the little iron pot. She filled it up with water, sat down to wait, and she hadn't long to wait at all. She hears them coming down the hill again, and if they were pleasant the first time, they were far from it the second time. They're thumping at her. Woman, open this door. She says, go away, she says. Go away, I want to open the door for you. I won't come near the door. Keep your bargain, she says. I've kept the bargain as well as I'm going to. Away you go. Well, no, they kept it up. They said, right, if you want to open the door, they said, cards, come and open this door. Take off the bar off the door. The cards said, we would if we could, but we're upside down. We can't help you. Look elsewhere. Wheel, come and open this door. Oh, the wheel says, no, I'm topsy-turvy. I can't help you. Loom, come and open this door. No, the loom says, my guts are all in knots. I can't help you today. And they said, little bannock on the girdle. And right enough, there was one little oat cake left on the girdle. And it dropped down onto the side and started rolling towards the door. Well, she jumped up. She was furious, you know. She was getting distracted. And she thumped her foot down upon that oat cake and smashed it. And now that she was up, she turned around. Her husband still lying snoring through all this. And she was so aggravated at him, she grabbed the pot of water and threw it the whole length of him, soaked him. And my gosh, that woke him up. He sat up. He said, woman, what's going on? And anyway, he says, what's that? All that noise at the door. Was I dreaming? Oh, she thought, if he goes to the door and finds them there, there'll be trouble. But he went to the door and unbarred it and opened the door. He says, not a soul here. Oh, she breathed a sigh of relief. He turns round, he says, woman, he says, I must have been sleeping a long time. She said, well, actually you were. But why do you say that? He said, look at all this wool you got spun. Look at this lovely cloth you've got woven. He says, I'm very proud of you. He says, keep it up. And she did. That's how I heard it.